Welcome to the Base Path Podcast, brought to you by New England Baseball Journal. I'm your host, Dan Guttenplan. Today's guest is the leader of the top college program in New England in 2025. It's Northeastern baseball coach Mike Glavine. Mike, coming off a huge season, I was saying we were going to throw a little party in here for top program in New England, but you came in even though we don't have a party here for you. But what was that season like for you? Amazing. 17 shutouts, 49 wins. Yeah. It was just, you guys were on fire all season.
Yeah, it was a magical season. And it came with bumps in the road along the way. You know, the finished product, the end product was just incredible. But just an amazing year with a great group of guys, great coaching staff, support staff. It takes a lot of people to have a great season, and it always starts with the players. And we just had a bunch of guys that were certainly talented, no question about it, and we saw that with the draft here recently. But talented players that work really hard and that really cared, and a lot of coach cliches that went into it. It was a group of guys that played with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, played for the logo, played for each other, celebrated each other's success, and when we got on a roll, it just like you felt like after a certain point, like, wow, we might not lose again. You know, it just because of how we played the game and how they cared so much. So it was just a magical season.
Yeah, it almost seemed like you guys had been building towards that, you know, over your coaching career and over the last few years, where you were kind of assembling the team, got guys through the portal that really helped, you know, brought guys up as freshmen. You know, Ryan Garrity's a local guy who was contributing so much this year. It just all kind of came together. The pitching was unbelievable all year. It was just every game you almost thought you were looking at the score from the previous game because you're like, oh, they shut him out again. That's unbelievable. Did it feel to you like it was something that kind of all came together, like a recipe that all of a sudden, you know, came out perfectly?
Yeah, you don't know, you think, right? You know, we've had a really strong run here, humbly. You know, it's been I guess going on 10 years now. We've had, you know, a really strong amount of success and a lot of talented players and a lot of wins. And so going into the season, we felt like we had a really good team. We felt like we had the right amount of senior leadership with guys that were going to come in and help the team as well, new faces. And so we felt like we had a really good mix and blend. But you just still don't know. I mean, and we were 12-8 at one point. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like we were wavering at that point, like unsure of ourselves. But, you know, this took a little bit for this team to get going. Once we got past that 20-game mark, it was incredible. But it did feel like a perfect storm in many ways. It did feel like we were building towards it. Felt really good about the team coming out of the fall and the mix and what we had. And it was just like that situation where you had the seniors that were just hungry, had something to prove, and they led the way without question. And then you had the younger guys doing their role and what we needed them to do. And then you had a couple of transfers that stepped right in and are just dominant. And it was just fun to watch.
Yeah, I feel like that first 20 games is always tough for those New England teams because you're not playing much up here. You know, the weather's been tough all winter long.
Well, we were in Hawaii, so
I remember that.
That was a pretty good start. But.
Yeah, no, but I remember you were playing big-time teams out there, too, like guys who are teams that were top 25 teams and had been outside all winter. Do you feel like it's hard to kind of reset after you come back to New England after those first 20 games and say, hey, we could be a different team up here?
I always feel like if you have the right guys, and I feel like we do each year, if you have the right guys with the right mindset, the right toughness and compete level, that if you can schedule as hard as you can early on the first 3 or 4 weekends and you're on the road, of course we're going to be on the road. I love it. It's not a negative, it's a positive. You're playing great teams on their fields in front of crowds, and you're challenging your own team. If you have the right guys on your team that are mentally tough and physically tough, you know, you're only going to be better for it. So if you can play as a tough a schedule as you can early on, and then you find your way finally coming back home. Now, our first game we got home, we got crushed, but from that point on, we started playing pretty good baseball. But if you can challenge yourselves and have the right guys that aren't going to, you know, let's say those trips don't go the way you want, is your team going to fold? Are they going to say, oh, man, we're off to a terrible start? No, I feel like we have the guys that are mentally and physically tough enough to say, okay, we're getting better here. This is a journey, and all those coach things that you talk to the guys about, and you're willing to play those teams on the road in their environment, and it just makes you better.
Yeah, and 12-8 is not bad. I mean, when you look back at, you finished, 49-12 or something like that. Then 12-8 doesn't seem great, but I mean, to come out from a West Coast trip like that, 12-8, that's not too bad. Wanted to ask, you credited your assistant coaches, coaching staff. You've actually had a little bit of turnover, which happens when you have a lot of success. You know, guys get opportunities to get head coaching gigs. I did a podcast with Frank a couple of weeks ago. Frank Holbrook, he's now at Brown.
Yes.
And you've lost a couple guys along the way. What will you do to replace that position? Do you have you already? I don't know. I haven't seen if you've already replaced it, but how do you find guys who can fit in with your culture, you know, to kind of step in and lead the way?
Yeah, well, I'm excited for those guys. You hate to lose coaches, right? Turnover is hard. You know, you have to replace those guys, and Coach Holbrook did an awesome job for us. And so just really happy for him to get an opportunity to be the head coach at Brown, and he's going to do a great job. There's no question about it. So he was great for us, and I hate to see him go, along with Coach Bosco. Same thing. You know, he did a great job for us, and he moves on to Navy there, and so I hate to lose him and both those guys. So replacing guys is hard. There's never great timing. You know, they go to a position where they're in a spot that they feel is great for them, and now we have to reload on our coaching staff. And so the network now is you know, people calling me, reaching out to me, texting, email. We've had coaches leave in the past. This summer has been a little more hectic. There's been a lot more interest, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm certainly, you know, trying to reach out and get back to as many people as possible. And it does take a certain coach to coach here and to fit in with myself and Coach Cobb and what our culture is like and some of the obstacles that we have to overcome. So certainly take it very seriously of who we're trying to hire here, what we try, you know, what we need. We need offensive coaching. Coach Cobb was going to handle the pitching staff again, thankfully. And so we'll just go through that process. You know, I haven't hired anybody yet. We're working through that. And you know, we need help with the offensive side, the base running side, those types of things. And just try to, like I said, just build that network that we already have, reach out, meet new people. But there's been a lot of interest in the job, and it's really it's really come a long way, and that's exciting for the program.
Yeah, I would imagine once you see guys within, you know, assistant coaches with your program get head coaching positions at other spots, it is a job where probably assistants are saying, hey, if I go there, you know, figure out the culture and figure out how Coach Glavine's doing it, then maybe there is an opportunity. So I could imagine why there would be so much interest. Kind of on the same theme, you do have some holes to fill in terms of players this year, too. When you get 5 guys drafted like you did, like you mentioned, you had a really strong senior class. I remember talking to you. We did a story. It was a preview a couple of years ago. I think it was, I don't know if it was an Avon Cabral feature or somebody like that. But you were saying, like, I only really have like one starting position open. Might be a little more open next year. Are you looking, is it a transfer portal thing? Or I know you have a great incoming freshman class. Like, how are you looking to fill those spots? And how does that play out within your program to figure out who gets them?
Yeah, not might be. It will be.
Yeah.
This will be new territory. You know, we're going to lose all 3. We lose all 3 weekend starters.
Right.
We lose 5 of our top bullpen arms. We lose our catcher and Bozo, Alex Lane, Jack Doyle, plus Goodman and Maldonado out of the position player side.
Yeah.
So
important position, shortstop.
Yeah, center field, catcher, you know, corner. So we lose a lot.
Yeah.
Probably the most we've ever lost during my time here in that sense. Just a lot of really talented players, a lot of leadership, a lot of winners. So it's going to be challenging for us. What's exciting, though, as a coach is each year presents a new challenge and new opportunities, and that's what this season will provide. You know, I think when you look at our team coming in for next year, as we're still piecing it together, we have some key parts back, though.
Yeah.
We have the Conference Player of the Year coming back here. The guy that almost went 20-40, 20 home runs, 40 stolen bases, and Harrison Feinberg. It's never been done in college baseball. So, he's back. Carmelo Musaki is back, Mello. So he's back. We returned Brinker and Fosberg. So we returned some key pieces on the offensive side. Garrity, as you mentioned earlier. So,
right, yeah.
So we have some holes to fill there, but I was really happy with last year's freshman class. They didn't play a lot because of the situation, but they worked really hard. They were at our conference tournament. They were at the regional with us. They saw it all. We had at least one. I had one meeting with them as a freshman, just a group, just them, and just say, as it was late in the season, I hope you know what's going on right now. I hope you're really soaking in how incredible these guys are doing and what it takes to bring this every day. And they got to witness it firsthand. And they're having very good summers right now, which is exciting to see. So those freshmen are going to come back hungry. They want to prove something. They want to play. So I'm excited about that piece. And then I'm excited on the mound, where we return a lot of older pitchers too that haven't quite pitched a lot for us, that will be hungry and want to pitch. And so there's going to be a competitive aspect to this team this year, that guys that haven't had a huge roles will have a chance to take that role and earn it and win it. So I'm excited. I'm excited for our freshman or now sophomore class to come in and see how ready they're going to be. I'm excited, of course, for our incoming class of freshmen. And then, we've added a couple of transfers. We're still working right now. We won't have a huge number of transfers still. It'll probably be in the range of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
We've added 3 so far. I'm thinking we're going to add 1 more, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, the transfer portal. You never know, because you got to cut down the roster sizes now, so you can't bring in 8 transfers and 8 freshmen, and you can't do that stuff. But I would think you would have some success with that, just because, like, you look at the draft this year, Jordan Gottsman came from Endicott.
Yeah.
Who else did you have? I guess Goodman,
Goodman
started
was
at
on Pepperdine.
Pepperdine, yeah. So you've got guys that came from other places and then ended up getting drafted. So do you think that history or that example will lead to making it a little bit easier to pluck guys in the portal, or probably 49 wins helps too?
Yeah, and Cooper McGrath was from Trinity. So
yeah, right,
I haven't. Yes and no. With the changing climate of the portal and what teams are, certain programs are able to do from, scholarship perspectives and NIL money, that's ultimately the main factor. It really is. It's just being honest. So we certainly try to promote our, success that we've had on the field and with the draft and those sort of things. And we've been very strategic with the transfer portal, in my opinion, and done a really good job. Those guys have had so many, key contributions, not just this past year, but you look at guys like Griff Young and Jordy Allard and guys that have really helped us out over the years, and guys from I love the local guys. I love the local programs. You look at the guys where they're coming from, like you mentioned, Endicott, Salve, Wheaton, Babson. I mean, these are all top programs right in our backyard.
Right.
So we'll continue to try to do that. Continue, hopefully, to have great relationships with our local coaches and try to get players that fit our culture. And so we've been really lucky. Jordan was awesome for us. Max Gitlin was awesome for us. 2 lefties that pitched great for us this past year, and we'll look to try to do it again. But I don't think we'll ever be a program that relies solely, certainly, on the transfer portal. It won't work from a financial piece. I don't think. I don't think we'll get to that level, at least for a while. And then from building a team and a program piece, I still love the recruiting, the high school kids, to get them in, develop them. That's where the real coaching comes in. When you can get those high school kids into your program and try to develop them and watch them get better year after year, that to me, that's the real coaching piece, the player development piece, when you get a younger guy in. And then when you get the transfers in, like, for me, it's making sure they're going to fit right in with our culture. Obviously, they have to be talented. We want them talented, but fit right in with our culture, and always talk to them about, hey, you still have development too here. Now, you're not, just because you might be a junior and you have 1 year left, like, we feel like we see some upside there for sure, and we want to get you better.
Yeah, it is like a different style almost a different way of coaching altogether now, with these high majors and Power 4, I guess now, conference coaches, where it's almost like free agency in the transfer portal, where whoever is offering the most money is where the guys are going to go that are SEC transfer portal guys or ACC transfer portal guys. And it sounds like you enjoy the development piece. Is that why? I know you've had opportunities to go to bigger, not bigger programs, but, bigger conference programs. Is that why you've chosen to stay at Northeastern? You like that development piece?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, and Northeastern's been great to me. I mean, I was a student athlete there, and now I've been coaching there for over 15 years, and the university itself has been just really, really great to myself and my family, and so I love being there. I love the challenges that Northeastern provides. Some people don't like them. You can look at some of the things that we have to overcome and say, oh, man, I don't know if this is for me. Or you can say, okay, how are we going to figure this out? So there's always a challenge of coaching at Northeastern. It's not an easy place to coach. It's not an easy place to play. And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean that's the reality of the situation. What we have to overcome, what our players have to do. I often say to them in team meetings, like, nobody really knows what we go through, just the people in this room. They see the finished product. They see them out in the field, but they don't see everything that they go through on a day-to-day basis and how hard they have to work and obstacles they have to overcome. So when you get those right kids, those right recruits, those right transfers that want that challenge and want to play at a place where they're going to get treated the right way and they're going to be challenged to get better from a practice standpoint, from a weight room standpoint, and they can win. That's where I feel like we do our best, is when we can fit those types of players in from the recruiting trail, from the high school kids to the transfers. And it's challenging. The portal is, I think it's great. I really do, that players can go places and finally make some money. They deserve it. There's no question about it. We just have to figure out at Northeastern, okay, where do we fit in that world?
Yeah.
And Power Fours can't get everybody.
Right.
And they miss guys and they overlook guys. And then, when you start to peel the layers back. Oh, Northeastern, okay, they're pretty good here. Like, okay, and they get players drafted and they win. And okay, and then we become a little more appealing as the process goes. So it's a fun challenge coaching here, and I love it.
Yeah, and it almost seems like you can be able, coaches can find some hidden gems of, some of these Power Fours had to scale back rosters to fit the roster size. So there are guys even from New England in the last year or so who thought they were going to Vanderbilt, or they thought they were going to, Duke or something like that. There's a change in the coaching staff, or all of a sudden they had to trim roster sizes, and now it's June before their freshman year and they need to find a new school. So maybe there's opportunity there too.
Sure.
I did want to ask about recruiting, because we, all kinds of parents, all kinds of players want to know, like, where should I be going during the summer to get looks? Because that's when a lot of the recruiting happens, summer, fall, because you guys are playing in the spring. You're not out, recruiting so much. What did your summer look like? Did you go to the PBR Future games? Do you look at like area code games? Or I know August 1st is a big date for that 2027 class. What's your summer recruiting look like?
Well, it's mainly been myself and Coach Cobb. So,
yeah, right.
And
you got a lot of holes to
fill.
And
mainly
there.
Coach Cobb, and Coach Crossan's been helping out as well. So Danny's done a great job for us. He's one of our former players is really helped out with our team camps, and we host a lot of those. So we try to do a little bit of everything that you just mentioned. Coach Cobb was down in Georgia. I was back home with our team camps on campus. You try to hit as many events as possible. Try to hit single games and target certain players. You don't want to be chasing all over the place, especially when you have only a few holes to fill maybe, and you have certain needs, so you're not everywhere. But we do try to do a little bit of everything. We try to go to the bigger events where everybody is, so that it's all in one place. Target single games and try to go watch guys pitch in particular games or play and get 3-4 at-bats. And then we run team camps on our field, which I love, and I really do. I think it's you're seeing more and more of that right now, where you have 8-10 teams coming in on your field and playing for 3 days, and they're right in front of you, and so you don't have to go anywhere. So that's great, and I think it's a great opportunity for the kids, to get out there and showcase their talents. You do a showcase day, you play a couple games. You're on a college field, you're right near a college campus. I think if you take advantage of that team camp day and weekend where you can showcase yourself as a baseball player, then go see a college campus. I think it's a win-win all around. And so I've really enjoyed that piece of just having these teams on our field and getting a chance to see them, as well as, again, seeing all the bigger events that you mentioned. And so not a lot has changed on that end. Our model is still pretty similar, other than having more team camps at our field. Nice.
Yeah, we just tried to put together a list of, 20, 25 guys who may hear from coaches on August 1st. And I actually heard back from a parent that was like, my son's going to hear from like 20 to 30 teams on August 1st. That's what we're expecting. And so I'm wondering, like, I don't have any idea what that day will look like, because it's, this is, I think, only the second year that August 1st has been that target date. Is that a day where, like, you're on the phone all day trying to reach out to potential prospects, or, is it reasonable for somebody to expect 20 or 30 coaches to call on that day?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Depending upon the level of the
player.
The player. So, Coach and I will be on the phone most of the day. Everybody's coaching and recruiting philosophies is different, obviously, right? From a Northeastern perspective, we won't call. Coach and I won't be calling 200 kids and just casting this gigantic net. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's how we do it. We know what we need for that class, this next class, this 27 class. We know where our holes we want to fill. Shockingly, pitching will definitely be one of them, and then a couple position players, right? So we know those holes. We are reducing the recruiting classes. That's, you kind of alluded to that, but with the reduction in roster size, so we're not going to be bringing in as many players, and so we'll target. We had meetings this week after a coach was down in Georgia, and we had our team camps. You go through your list. We have the big whiteboard and the Excel spreadsheets going, and kind of say, hey, these are the positions we need. These are the guys on our list. These are the guys we've seen, and these are the guys we're going to call. Mm-hmm. And so we'll be on the phone most of the day, but these will be calls that, maybe I'm making, 15, 20 calls, and Coach Cobb's making 15, 20 calls in day one. And then you're dealing with all of the stuff of like, well, if you didn't call them on day one, what does that mean? Well, there's only so many hours in the day. There's so many hours of kids you're going to call. The recruiting process obviously is imperfect.
Oh yeah.
We make a ton of mistakes. I probably, it's like losing a game, and same with losing a recruiter. I'm like, oh man, why didn't I recruit that kid harder? I missed on that one. And plenty of people remind me of that, which is always nice of them. But so we'll make as many calls as we feel necessary. We don't like to recruit in the masses, meaning just like I said, 100 phone calls and make sure we got, everyone on board here. It's not like that. It's, for us, it's a little more personal. Let's have a little more narrow list and fill the needs we have, and then go from there.
So are you actually talking money on that? Is it like, hey, here's what we can offer you? Or is it like, hey, we're interested, this isn't a one-day process, stay in touch. Is it
for
more...
me? It's not a one-day process. Yeah. And it's not money. If we have to get right to money on day one,
they'll probably find it somewhere else.
Yeah, they'll probably find it somewhere else, and that's just not. I need to get you on campus. I prefer. Let's come see what I'm talking about. Don't just take my word for it.
Right.
Come see the obstacles we have. See the great things we have. Chance to meet us in person. All of those different things. So for me, it's a little bit of a process. It's not a one-day thing. It's, hey, we're really interested and we like you. We've seen you play multiple times, which is a big thing for us, or pitch multiple times. We're interested. Are you interested in Northeastern? Mm-hmm. If you're not, okay, thank you. No hard feelings. Understand. Good luck. If you are, okay, let's keep this process going. We're going to need your transcripts. We're going to, just see if you're still playing. When could you come visit? When it's permissible. So those factors, I think, are really important for us, and to not completely slow the process down, because things move fast. Mm-hmm. And what you'll see is waves. I think you see these quick waves right now early here, where here in August and September, things will move fast, and then it slows down a little bit, then it speeds up again. Yeah. So for me, it's trying to go at a pace that we're comfortable with in our program and with our staff, and what the families are comfortable with.
Yeah, that's what the point I was kind of trying to make with that. We highlight 20, 25 guys that are, potential D1, top power 4 type guys. Yeah. But we only have like 60 guys in the class of 2026 in New England that are committed right now, and all of them are D1 guys. So like it doesn't need to happen on August 1st. Like you can always say, hey, I appreciate the content, and then you can play it out. You know, it doesn't. You don't just because you don't get your scholarship offer on August 1st does not mean you're not going to end up playing D1.
Sure, and I'll just say again, I say this all the time. You know, every player has goals. I assume they all want to play professionally. You know, the highest level of college baseball they want to play, but we are so blessed here in New England to have the college baseball that we have at the Division I, Division II, and Division III level. I mean that sincerely. Again, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but to see what our D1 teams are doing, but then to see D2 teams going to their World Series, the D3 teams going to their World Series, you see how competitive we are at all three levels. So again, players have you have your goals, and I'm not saying don't have those goals, but there are so many great options in New England to play college baseball, and wherever you fit, you know, and can find the right fit, D1, D2, D3. There's just so much great baseball for these kids. I think we're in a great age right now of college baseball in New England. I really do at all the levels.
Yeah, and now that just because you started a D1 or D3 school doesn't mean there's not a pathway to D1. You know, we've seen, like, example, Jordan Guttenplan is a D3 to D1 to professional baseball. Right. You know, that pathway does exist now, maybe more than it did, you know, before everybody was transferring, Absolutely. You know, all the time. I want to talk Jason Aguiar. Where I did a story on him. Is it Aguiar or
no, I'm just kidding.
Is it okay? Yeah, so we did a story on your strength program, and just kind of a focus on pitcher injuries, because that's been with pitcher velocity going up.
Yeah.
But I was just reading a story that in the Major League Baseball, I think 2024 was the first time in like 20 years that on the total, when you add up all the stats from entire Major League Baseball, there were more hits than strikeouts. You know, first time in like the last 20 years. And they were trying to figure out why it was. Is it because the pitch clock is speeding guys up and they're not throwing as hard? Is it because what was the other one that they came up with? Oh, guys are swinging earlier in the count. Like the first pitch, they're swinging a lot. Like I think the first pitch, it used to be people were swinging like 22% of the time. Now it's like 35% of the time. What are your theories as to, do you think pitcher injuries, is it trending back towards not being as much of an epidemic in baseball? And why do you think there are fewer strikeouts now? Like, what do you attribute that to?
Well, the fewer strikeouts first. I mean, that does make sense when you're facing guys that are throwing 95 to 98 all the time, and then they're ripping 88-mile-an-hour sliders at you to 90. Like, you can't really afford to take too many pitches. So I think you go in there with a little bit of a sense of urgency now where, okay, I don't know how much I can work this count, because the first pitch I get that I can hit, I have to go here. So I think that just makes sense, right? The stuff, although the command isn't as good, so it's a little tricky, you know, balance there of like, to me, pitchers don't throw strikes like they prioritize them as much, and that's one of the many things that Coach Cobb does an awesome job with our guys, and what our guys execute is, you know, we tend to be a strike throwing pitching staff, and this year was just to another, you know, level, and so when you're having that balance, if you have a little bit of a report on the guy, which they do usually, and even we do, is this kid a strike thrower? Is he a stuff guy? Okay, can I work the count because he's going to fall behind, and I'm going to have an opportunity to hit something later in the count? Or this guy's a strike thrower and he has stuff, we got to go. And so I think that's why you see, you know, more early swings with the amount of stuff guys are facing nowadays. You just can't afford to get to two strikes, or, you know, you're in some trouble. They're going to throw 95, 98 on your hands, or they're going to rip your slider down and away. So I see that. I can see why the swinging is a little more aggressive. You know, and then from the injury piece, again, the velocity is incredible.
Yeah,
it really is. It continues. You just go even watch these events, and the amount of kids that in high school that are 88 plus now, 90, and it used to be maybe whatever the number was, a handful, or, you know, a 10, whatever. Now it just seems like there are so many kids that are throwing 86, 88, 90 in high school that eventually the body ready for that at that young age. And I think that's where you see a lot of the injuries. I'm not a doctor. I don't certainly know, and we're still seeing injuries, and occasionally we'll have one of our guys get hurt. But the velocity at such a young age is truly incredible to see, and I think that leads to a lot of the injuries. And of course, I know people, and all of us are worried about overuse and throwing too much and all of that certainly plays a factor, because then you're fatigued and your body again isn't able to handle all the workload on top of the velocity that you're throwing at. So I feel like maybe the trend is going back a little bit, where hopefully I think guys have been a little more healthy and strikes have become more of a importance, not how hard guys are throwing, but how great they can command the baseball. So I think I do think you're seeing a minor shift in hopefully a few less injuries and more command.
Yeah, they so in the same story they said in 2005 they tracked velocity, fastball velocity at the perfect game. I think it was like WBA World Championships or something like that. And 5 high school pitchers threw 95 miles an hour or more. And then last year at the same event, it was 36 high school pitchers throwing 95. That's crazy.
Yeah.
No, now I just from speaking with Jason for that story, your strength coach, and hearing the way that you're getting reports on opposing players with Coach Cobb, and it seems like you really embrace new technology in baseball. Is that like from when you played professionally, it was accessible to you, and now you know how important it is, or is it, or did you not have that accessible to you when you were playing professionally, but now you're like, hey, let's give all the players all the tools they need?
Yeah, I'm too old. The technology wasn't there when I was playing, and I needed it the way I played. I could have used a little more, but it's just a combination of everything. Just having an open mind as a coach, first and foremost, and listening to your players and listen to your assistant coaches and reading and learning and going to conventions and following things and just having an open mind. And so I think it starts there, and then trusting the people that are around me, again, the players and coaches, and then finding a way to blend, I guess is the word I use all the time. Just blend. I am still plenty of old school in me. There's still, play the game with a chip on your shoulder, and let's get in the weight room and let's move some weight around here. Let's push, pull, and get under the bar, and let's get after it. And again, you see the physicality of major leaguers continues to, those are strong guys, and I think it's really important to be in the weight room. So there's a blend of practicing really hard and having your non-negotiables as a coach, getting in the weight room and really believing in that piece of things. But then let's add the TrackMan data. Let's add the slow motion camera stuff that we need. Let's add the Rapsodo stuff that we can give the guys. Let's get, the video cameras set up and get Aware going in practice and seeing all the different angles and how we can develop our players. Let's integrate it. Let's blend it. Let's make sure that it's not overwhelming. I'm not a fan of a guy taking a swing and then turning around and looking at hit tracks, then going right back and turning around and doing it every single swing, or looking at Rapsodo after every throw or TrackMan. Like, there has to be a balance there,
right?
Of feel, compete, and making some adjustments on your own. But also getting that immediate feedback is really helpful to the players. So I think we've done a really good job of integrating that into the program from a player development standpoint. First and foremost, like, there's two things that I think you're always juggling as a coach. You're trying to prepare your team to win, right? That can never be, lost. You're always trying to prepare them to be successful on the field. So if you can take all your practice stuff, what you do in the weight room, and all of your technology and data to help them be successful between the lines is incredibly important, right? That's like goal number one for the team. But then there's the player development piece, and try to develop them to be the best player they can be and reach their ceiling. So if you can take and blend a little bit of the old school with all of the data and the analytics, that's when it becomes, I think, special, and when guys, the teams reach their peak. and when players get to reach their ceiling. So we'll have pregame meetings. We'll go over the opposing team. We'll show them all their hitters and video. This is what to look at. This is who we don't want to beat us today or this weekend. Here's today's starting pitcher. This is his fastball. This is his slider. This is his pitch usage. This is the amount he uses these pitches. So all our players will have that information pregame and for the weekend. And then we'll probably finish the meeting. Well, let's go out there and I'll compete them and be better than them. So you just have that blend.
Yeah, I feel like now that you mentioned that old school philosophy mixed with kind of that new, that makes me think of like your recruiting style a little bit more, where it's like these big New England guys, physical players who are multi-sport athletes. And I know you and your brother were multi-sport athletes coming up. Like that kind of reminds me of that old school approach where like I'll see this kid recruited to Northeastern and I'll kind of look at their background and profile and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, big kid, plays multiple sports, a lot of room for, a higher ceiling, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Netting Professionals is proud to be the official netting partner of the Cape Cod League and the New England Collegiate Baseball League. Netting Professionals is in the sports business of improving athletic programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals designs, fabricates, and installs custom netting, wall padding, windscreen, batting practice equipment, and much more for high schools, colleges, commercial facilities, and stadiums throughout the United States while providing high-quality products and great service to numerous baseball programs throughout the New England area. To learn more and to speak to a Netting Professionals representative today, visit them at nettingpros.com. Remember, when it comes to netting, it's Netting Professionals. Get the pro treatment and design your very own custom Rawlings glove, just like your favorite big league stars. Choose from countless patterns, web types, lace colors, and more to showcase your unique personal style. Start with a pro design and change it up with your team colors, or build yours completely from scratch with your name, number, and state flag. Visit Rawlings.com to design your custom glove today. Well, if you're, can you hang in there for our 3 Up, 3 Down segment with our?
Sure.
All right. Let me kick it to our producer, David Yaz. We'll do 3 Up, 3 Down.
3 Up, 3 Down.
Yes, welcome back to 3 Up, 3 Down. It's good to turn the microphone on when you're doing a segment. This is the segment where we have 3 random questions. Well, they're not random. They're actually carefully curated questions about the game of baseball. We're going to talk baseball strategy today. So 3 questions on baseball strategy. First one involves the intentional walk. So, Coach, we'll start with you. Mm-hmm. When do coaches maybe inappropriately use the intentional walk? What's your strategy on using the intentional walk, generally speaking?
All right, great question. I was at my son's game the other day, okay, and there's a tie game in the bottom of the 7th. His team is up, and the there's a runner on third, no outs, and the 2-hitter is up. So at some point, you got to get somebody out.
Yeah.
So they decided to, opposing team, walk the 2-hitter, walk the 3-hitter to face the 4-hitter with the bases loaded and no outs. I didn't love it sitting on the sidelines. I didn't say anything. I'm way down the end. My kids call me a creep because I don't go there.
Tell me again, sorry, the inning and the score.
Last inning, bottom of the inning.
Okay.
It was like a 5-5 game.
Oh, okay.
There was a runner on third, no outs.
Yep.
But they're the 2-hitters up. And so I personally would have pitched to the 2-hitter, see if we could get him out.
Strikeout or a pop out or something.
Some type of out.
Yep.
And then maybe consider walking the next 2-hitters to try to get a double play. So I didn't love that situation.
Well, if you get the first guy, then you only have to walk one intentionally, in theory, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the loading the bases, you run the risk of ball 4. You run the risk of
pass ball,
hit by pitch.
I
I've
guess
seen
he's
it a
already
lot.
on third.
Where I feel like I've seen a lot where you load the
Yep.
bases, and the next thing you know, he hits the guy in the next pitch. You're like, oh man, and you feel like a dummy as a coach. So you obviously have to get somebody out. I believe in the intentional walk. Certainly, if you targeted a guy and you don't want him to beat you, or he's hot that day, you say, all right, let's put this guy on. But you're putting a lot of stress on the pitcher.
Dan, your thoughts on whether the intentional walk is misused ever or properly used?
Yeah, I think the one that I don't like is if it's kind of still early in the game, like first 5 or 6 innings, there's a base open, maybe there's a runner on second, and then like the 8 hitter is up or somebody in the bottom of the order, and they're like, oh, let's just put him on and pitch to the 9th hitter. I think you get the 8th hitter out there and start the next inning off with the 9th hitter. So I think it's just, sometimes you just have to think ahead a little bit. But sometimes the pitcher's on the ropes and they're like, oh, let's get the worst hitter on the other lineup against this pitcher. So I just think sometimes you go after the 7 or 8 hitter rather than put him on and pitch to a lower batter.
Yeah, it used to be a practice in the National League, walk the 8-hole hitter to get to the pitcher, which apparently when somebody took the time to analyze it, it was not advantageous because you get a bigger boost if you manage to get that 8-hole hitter out, and now they're leading off the next inning.
You might get a pitching change or
That's a tricky one. I remember I intentionally walked a guy in the conference tournament years ago, and many years ago, and the following guy ripped a double, and and that guy has also been in the big leagues for like 8 years. So looking back on it, was a really, really bad decision.
Every situation is different. All right, question number 2 for 3 up, 3 down. Just generally speaking, when are pitching changes? There's at least in the major leagues, hotter topic in the last decade or so is when you pull the starting pitcher, and the answer for most managers is a lot earlier than we used to. But tell me about pitching changes, how you think they're used, misused. Dan, you can start with that one.
Yeah, it's earlier than I like, but the numbers have to probably back up why they're doing it. I would imagine, like you looked at those Pedro, splits back when he blew that game in 2003.
Way to bring up a sore subject in Boston, Dan. Dan's a Philly fan, so he doesn't care.
There we go.
What is it, like so 95 pitches for the starter, I think, was kind of when you start getting diminishing returns. And now there are rules. You can't bring in guys for, what are the rules now? You can't bring in guys for one batter. I think they have to be in for a couple.
Yeah, they have to pitch to 2 batters, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me as much as it used to. Like, who was it? Joe Girardi was like, he was just like all in the last 2 innings of the game, it'd be like lefty, righty, and you're just one batter at a time. So I didn't like that, but I think the new rules are probably making it a little bit better. I'd like to see guys get, if they're going good at 100 pitches, maybe get to 110 or 120, but I understand injuries and diminishing returns and all that stuff show that that's not always a good idea.
Coach, your thoughts?
Yeah, I still love the starter going deep into the game, and our guys did an awesome job at this past year. Will Jones, Cabral, and Gottesman, they were going 7-8 innings every game. It was a beautiful thing to see, and then it takes the pressure off your bullpen. So if you have the guys that can do it and they're efficient, I don't like going into the game unless there is an injury or some concern, or they'd missed a start and your pitch count's predetermined a little lower.
Is the sort of general rule of thumb pitch count different in college than it is in MLB?
No, it's similar. It's similar.
So your guys can go 100 pitches?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's just like, hey, if that guy's feeling it that day and he's rolling, and why do I have to take him out here? He feels great. Maybe the weather's right and he hasn't been pitching under stress. And so I don't like going into a game necessarily saying this is the number and he's out. Right. You're just having some feel as to how the game's playing out and how the kid feels, and the workload, how much we've been traveling, like all that plays into it a little bit. But I still like the guys go. I like to see the guys go deeper. Then you watch these games, and I think of Tampa, like they're just running guys in and out of the pitching all the time when you watch them, and they've been successful. Don't get me wrong, but I like the guys that can go a little deeper into the game, give your bullpen a little rest, and let the starters try to finish what they started.
Well, there's still something sort of counterintuitive about taking out a guy based on a pitch count when his last few pitches were great. When they do the so-called bullpen day, it drives me crazy if the guy starts throws 2 perfect innings and then gets lifted. Why did you take him out?
Yeah,
he hasn't failed. And
Yeah.
it's the same with the guy who's in the 90s on the pitch count. There's a big difference in a guy hit 95 pitch count and look at he's struggling. All right, well, maybe we should take him out because he's struggling, not because of the 95.
Yeah.
And then if he's still throwing well, some guys do get stronger. It's the old cliche. Some guys do get stronger.
No doubt.
Yeah, you mentioned being a Phillies fan. That was like the one year they had Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, and Cole Hamels on the team, and like they were all completely different. Roy Halladay could throw 130 pitches, and like come back 4 days later and do it again. Hamels was a little craftier, like he was 90, 100 pitches, and he was out. So it was everybody's different with that too, I think.
Yeah. Remember the year the White Sox won the World Series? Ozzie Guillen used to leave his guys in forever.
Yeah, everybody was pitching 9 innings.
4 horses, and they won the World Series. I think those guys weren't quite the same after that season. But anyway, final question on 3 up, 3 down. Let's just talk generally about small ball, I guess you call it. I'm reminded of the scene in Moneyball where Brad Pitt as Billy Bean, when asked about bunting, he's like, no bunting. And then somebody says, but what if no bunting, no bunting? Yeah. Is small ball coming back? I just anecdotally, it feels like we're seeing more bunting and certainly more stealing. The bigger bases have something to do with that. But as far as, I'll call it small ball generally, and is it coming back, or is it still kind of we still kind of love the 3-run getting on base and 3-run homers? Coach, what do you think?
Well, I think you're talking about 2 different things here still. Like from a major league level, it might be coming back slightly, but those guys aren't going to get paid if they bunt. And,
good point.
And the numbers would say don't bunt, I guess, is what the stats would say. So I think it comes back. You watch games, you see it a little bit more. To me, it can be winning baseball. Why not move a runner? In Major League Baseball, is still putting the runner on second base in extra innings, right? So if you're the home team, I've seen more bunting in that situation where if the visiting team didn't score in the top of the inning, they'll bunt in the bottom of the inning, try to get the guy to third. So I love the small ball in the college level, though, and we call it our chaos offense. And I think we're second in the country this year in stolen bases. Stole 190-something bases. We will bunt. We will sack bunt. We will bunt for a hit. We will safety squeeze. We will regular squeeze. We will fake bunt steal. We will try to do anything to score runs and win the game. And especially if you're playing in New England early in the season and it's a little bit colder outside and there's a little bit of wind, you might need to play some small ball, steal a base, get a bunt down, and get a sac fly and win a game, 2-1, 3-2. So I love the small ball, especially for our game, and I do think you're seeing it a little bit more in the big league level.
You're right, a little bit more, but it's glad to. So apparently you coach it. You practice it. You guys spend some time on it, which it's when. I guess we could blame McGuire and Sosa and chicks love the long ball and which hilarious ad which starring your brother and Greg Maddux, but so it's just interesting that it's still alive. And I'm always reminded of there was one year Mickey Mantle had like 40 bunt base hits, and we're talking macho Mickey Mantle, home run hitting Mickey Mantle. It was part of his game. It made him a heck of a lot more dangerous. Dan, your thoughts?
Well, I'm not going to sit on a set here with Coach Glavine and diminish small ball. I think I will concede to him on this and say, just watching his team this year win 49 games, I can tell how important it was. College, I think, is a little different because there are guys who just don't hit a lot of home runs in the lineup. In Major League Baseball, there's probably a little bit more power in the lineup, but yeah, I think with the extra inning rules in baseball now where guys are starting on second base, you see more of it, especially if you're the home team and it's the bottom of the inning and you just need 1 run and a guy's on second base. Move him to third and give 2 guys a chance to get him in. I like that too. So, yeah, I think it is becoming more important at all levels, maybe more in college than the pros, but for sure it's becoming a little bit more. And, like the Bonds, McGuire, those guys were hitting 70 home runs a year. Right. You don't see that anymore either. So
it's real baseball. It's not fantasy baseball. I don't think there's a fantasy baseball category for sacrifice bunts, but maybe there should be.
Yeah.
All right. Terrific job, both of you. Back to you, Dan, to wrap things up.
Okay. Thanks for listening to the Base Path Podcast. Thanks to Coach Glavine for coming in and joining us in studio during a busy time of year. Thanks to David Yaz, our producer. Subscribe to the Base Path Podcast on your preferred platforms. Watch it on YouTube. The Base Path Podcast is a Siemens Media production.